India Summit, if I can use that term. And this will be important. I mean, I think they are doing a lot of good things. If India indeed is to grow from the grassroots level, then such developing skill sets, as you'll probably hear in this event as well, and post that event when ETNOW brings you some experts to talk about what the event really would indicate, I think this will be important. Remember, Narendra Modi will launch the Skill India campaign, and the Minister of Skill Development and Training, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, says a lot needs to be done in comparison to the global map to skill India, and that's the government's next move.
And if we look at some of the figures across the world, if we look at China, which has a population of 1.5 billion people, about 46% of the workforce is skilled. If you look at Germany, 74% of the workforce is skilled. If you look at United Kingdom, 68% of the workforce is skilled. If you look at Japan, 80% of the workforce is skilled. In Korea is 96% of the workforce is skilled. And in India, the NSSO census and NSSO reveals that in the 68th round, it is just 3.5%. So there is a huge mismatch. Yes. We have spent years in education, and when we're talking about education, we're talking about education which possibly doesn't make you employable. And we have spent a lot of resources. But what the Prime Minister actually means is 12 years of school education is very important. But 12 years of school education may not necessarily make you employable.
That's right.
But 12 weeks of training with school education can give you an employment, and that may take care of a lot of challenges what we are facing today as far as trained manpower is concerned.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of corporates you speak to say India has the largest number of graduates, but they're perhaps not employable, and that's something that you've really put your finger to. Because these schemes will be launched, there's a plethora of what's really coming on. Model skill loan scheme, skill card, the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, so plenty that is on the cards. From the Minister himself, we'd like to know what are these schemes all about, and what do you intend to achieve from
Well, I must admit one thing, this is not that skilling has started for the first time in this country.
Yes.
Ever since this issue became important, many ministries in Government of India started doing it. And as of now, there are about 24 ministries in Government of India. I'm not talking about the state governments who are doing it independently. And there are more than 70 schemes of skill development. But the biggest challenge in this country was standardization, to have common norms for them, to have a common training program, and to have a certification system.
Of course, and in a few minutes you will probably see in the live visuals, or rather the live inauguration as well. But Ajay joins in to tell us more about this and how and relate it really to the markets as well. Ajay.
In fact, interestingly, Neeraj, till yesterday we just thought that, the Skill India initiative, which the mega plan, which the Prime Minister is about to unveil in moments from now, may not have a direct impact in the stock market. But just look at how the way some of these education, especially IT-related enabled education services stocks and mid-cap IT stocks, which have been, operating in the in this space for some time, like Aptech and NIIT, got excited in trade. In fact, some of them were like Evron, Educomp, were locked on upper circuit. This is because some of the analysts on the street believe that this Skill India initiative, where the government aims to target at least 40 crore people in the next 7 years, is actually, may happen via this IT-enabled schemes. In fact, vocational training could happen on IT platform. And some of them also believe that the Digital India initiative and Skill India initiative may also have a lot of commonalities. And this space could actually become a very large opportunity for such companies. In fact, before the defense as a theme, really played out in the market, analysts were searching for which could be the possible ideas. Similarly, now analysts believe that these mid-cap IT companies, which have, worked in similar areas for long, could have very large opportunity opening up in the Skill India initiative, because massive amount of work could happen in PSUs. Up till now, only HMT and ITI, almost defunct companies, were the only ones which are doing work here, but the government wants to partner private companies as well. So these are the areas where these companies eye large opportunities, and hence some early buying and some excitement about it was also seen in today's session, when all these companies, almost 10 stocks, were gaining in the range of 5 to 20% in trade.
Just to follow up, Ajay, because you've been tracking this story, have you been able to get some sense from these companies where there has been a lot of buying interest, at least in the stocks, in anticipation of what this what this, this unveiling of the skill mission would bring about as an opportunity for the companies? What are they talking about? Are they saying that, this would mean bigger orders for them and perhaps a re-rating in their business?
Tanvir, and very interestingly, you raised a point. So this Skill India initiative which the government is likely to unveil this evening, analysts believe may have a multi-pronged approach. One is that, just about 12th pass and graduates may be trained in various skills and vocational training could be imparted. The other could be that the, lower tier workers of already employed in the Indian PSUs, which have lakhs and lakhs of employees, may be given additional skills. This is the area where these IT companies are eyeing large opportunities in order to tie up with these large companies. For example, SAIL or, BHEL at the lower tier have thousands of workers, may not be as proficient in, in IT-related applications. So their productivity goes up. So this is the area where these large IT companies are eyeing opportunities. Though most of them are refraining from talking numbers, but they do not deny that they are very keen on working both at the state level, state government level, as well as the central level to open up new revenue streams for themselves.
Okay, Ajay, many thanks for getting us that update. So, of course, keep in mind that, it's really interesting. There have been a number of schemes that have been launched. Okay, I think I think what we should do is that, because we should come back in time for the unveiling of the mission, let's call it a day on this leg of closing trades. We'll come back in just moments from now with live visuals or live coverage of live special coverage of the Skill India mission.
All right, I have a power-packed panel, and I'd like to bring up every guest for you who's right here on this show. We've got Mr. Ramadar Roy, we've got Dilip Shenoy, we've got Rahul Patwardhan of NIIT, and we will be joined by Guru Maladi in moments from now. So it's a power-packed panel indeed. I would want to take it across and listen in. If Mr. Rahul Patwardhan can indeed hear me, I'd like to go across to him and listen into him. In the meantime, if he's getting ready, I can take it across to Dilip Shenoy, a man who's been associated. Rahul Patwardhan, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
Oh, super. So thank you very much for being with us. Like I was telling every guest, let's keep playing visuals of the event on air as we speak. But Rahul, very quickly, what does this initiative really mean? Is this, according to critics, old wine in a new bottle, or is this, do you think, an event which is perhaps much warranted? We have the largest number of graduates, but look at the dismal numbers that are employable there.
Yes, I think this is a program which I first like to congratulate the government for kicking off today. I think this is going to be a long social transformation journey. We don't expect to solve the problem in a few days or a few years. I see this as a 10 to 15 to 20-year program of transformation of the skill base of India, and much required. The total demand for newly skilled people to enter the 32 different sectors of the economy that have been identified are about 100 million. Another 400 million people who are already working in these different sectors need to be upskilled, because today India is looking at attracting jobs from all over the world to be done from India, and therefore the quality of certification and skills of people in the industries across all sectors need to benchmark to global standards. So there's an issue of scale, there's also an issue of quality, and obviously there's an issue of time. We need to move very quickly.
We need to move quickly indeed, and I am going to get in more views on this matter. Dilip Shenoy, the question is really coming your way. You have said in the past that only 18 to 20% of youth in India are employable, and Mr. Rudy has pegged that number at 3.5% with the latest NSSO workforce. These are daunting numbers. What kind of a challenge are we looking at when it comes to skilling India?
See, the challenge that we're looking at is to ensure that everybody who is in the workforce has a requisite skill. Now, there are two aspects to it. There are about 12.8 million people who join the workforce every year. So, if you're looking at the next 8 to 10 years, you're looking at 100 to 120 million people who, when they join the workforce, actually have a requisite skill. The second challenge is that we already have around 476 million people in the existing workforce, and a significant portion of them, as you said, the minister has pointed out this earlier, need to be upskilled or reskilled or got certified. So that's the type of challenge that we're talking about, and we have to actually ensure that both the new entrants and existing workforce have two features going forward. One is that they are skilled, and two, that the skilling is benchmarked to global productivity levels.
All right, before I take this any forward, we must go and address the visuals on your screen. The Prime Minister has indeed arrived at that Skill India initiative, very central to the success of schemes like a Make in India, very central to the schemes like a Digital India. You have industry stalwarts all sitting there. You've got the state chief ministers in absolute presence, because the concern around India is that we have the largest number of workforce that could be employable. The fact is that they're not industry ready. They do not have the skills to work in various industries. An estimate thrown at you, 119 million people is what we require across 24 sectors over the next 7 years. Do we have them? The resounding answer to that is no. India is a very unskilled country. If you compare that with countries like Japan, which has an 80% skilled workforce, we pale in comparison. We are just at a mere 3.5%. So obviously those are not numbers that one would be proud of at all, and which is why this initiative is important. We're going to go back and listen to that initiative, but okay, actually Mr. Rudy is talking. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
पाकिस्तान की यात्रा के पश्चात, सफल यात्रा के पश्चात माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का आज इस मंच पर विशेष तौर से स्वागत है। आज हमारे बीच में माननीय श्री अरुण जेटली जी, ऑनरेबल यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑन द डैश, Honorable Union Minister in front of the dais, Honorable Chief Ministers of the states, representatives of the states, Secretaries to Government of India, Principal Secretaries to the states, Mission Directors, officials from the PMO, Cabinet Secretary, Chief of the Armed Forces, we have the Naval Chief and the Army Chief in present, the Chief of BSF, CISF, CRPF and ITPP, and the Delhi Police Commissioner, Vice Chancellors and Principals, Chairmen of School Boards, Shri Ramadorai and other eminent speakers, Chairman of the Sector Skill Councils, NSDA, NSDC, ITIs across the country, training providers, students, trainees, friends from media, and about 1 lakh of people watching this. Welcome to all of you on a very special. Before I commence, a special thanks to my Secretary Sunil Arora, who has headed this entire crusade for skill development and is completing 35 years of service this year, and I'm sure this whole program is highly indebted to his activity. आज हम यहाँ क्यों हैं और क्या आज है और आज इसकी जरूरत क्या है जिसके लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को हमने यहाँ बुलाया है। ये कुछ आंकड़े शायद आपके लिए आवश्यक हो और देश दुनिया इस बात को समझ सके। चीन जो आज 1.5 बिलियन देश का लोग है, उसकी जो कौशल विकास का जो प्रतिशत है वो 47 है, जर्मनी में 74 है, जापान में 80 है और कोरिया में 96 है। यानी कि कोरिया का हर 100 में से 96 व्यक्ति कौशल प्राप्त है, रोजगार लायक है। लेकिन भारत का जो NSSO सर्वे है, आज भारत मात्र 3.5% पर खड़ा है और शायद इस चुनौती को समझते हुए देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने इस कार्यक्रम को अपना कार्यक्रम बना के शुरुआत किया। और मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि बहुत सारे देशों ने इसमें कानून बनाया है। कानून आज से कोरिया ने तो 1996 में इस कानून को बनाया और उसके पश्चात कई देशों ने कानून बना के स्किल का काम किया है। हालांकि हो सकता है इस काम में हम 67 वर्ष विलंब से शुरू किया हो, लेकिन इस काम की अच्छी शुरुआत देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने किया है। 9 नवंबर को इस पहली बार इस देश के इतिहास में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री ने इस मंत्रालय का गठन किया और 9 नवंबर के बाद 11 नवंबर को यूएन ने भी पहली बार 2014 में 15 जुलाई को विश्व कौशल दिवस के रूप में घोषित किया। आज हमारा सौभाग्य है कि देश का सबसे बड़ा स्किल का आयोजन आज वर्ल्ड स्किल डे पर भारत में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा किया जा रहा है। हम सब मिलकर के इस कार्यक्रम के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को बधाई देना चाहेंगे। चुनौती क्या है? आखिर में चुनौती क्या है जो हम लोगों ने इस काम को प्रारंभ किया है? आज इस देश में असंगठित क्षेत्र में लगभग 440 मिलियन लोग हैं, जिसमें लगभग 47% लोग खेतों में काम करते हैं ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में। बचे हुए लगभग 53% लोग आज इस देश में असंगठित क्षेत्र में हैं। अगर पूरे आंकड़े को देखें और आज प्रत्येक माह लगभग 10 लाख लोग, 1 मिलियन लोग इस वर्कफोर्स से जुड़ते हैं। यानी कि अगले 5 वर्षों में हमारे पास लगभग 500 मिलियन लोग ऐसे होंगे जिन्हें हम प्रशिक्षित करना है। ये योजना इतना बड़ा है शायद इसकी शुरुआत देर से हुई, लेकिन हम लोगों ने इसकी शुरुआत किया। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का ये मानना है शिक्षा बड़ा आवश्यक है, हमने वर्षों से शिक्षा दिया है, लेकिन कई बार शिक्षा इस कामयाबी को नहीं दे पाता है कि हम रोजगार ले पाए। 12 वर्षों तक स्कूली शिक्षा आवश्यक है, 12 years of school education is very important, लेकिन 12 वर्ष की शिक्षा शायद आपको रोजगार ना दिला सके, लेकिन 12 हफ्ते की ट्रेनिंग आपको रोजगार दिला सकता है, और यही माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का अभियान है। महोदय, लेकिन इस काम को हम पूरा कैसे करेंगे? इतना बड़ा अभियान, 500 मिलियन लोग, राज्य सरकारें हमारे बीच में, माननीय मुख्यमंत्रीगण बैठे हैं, और इसके लिए पहली बार भारत में एक पॉलिसी जो पिछले 2009 में हुआ उसको हम लोगों ने फिर से निर्धारित किया, लेकिन देश में पहली बार एक काम किया जा रहा है कि इस पॉलिसी को लागू करने के लिए, लोगों को प्रशिक्षण देने के लिए आखिर इस काम को कैसे पूरा करेंगे। और मिशन के रूप में भारत में पहली बार किसी प्रधानमंत्री ने इसे मिशन के रूप में स्वीकार किया है, और माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने इस काम को पूरा करने के लिए मिशन की अध्यक्षता स्वीकार की है, जो मैं समझता हूं कि अपने आप में एक अनोखा प्रयास है। महोदय, आगे इस काम को पूरा करने के लिए कन्वर्जेंस की आवश्यकता है, और उसी कन्वर्जन के तहत कैबिनेट ने हाल फिलहाल कॉमन नॉर्म्स पास किए, क्योंकि देश में तरीके से जो लोग प्रशिक्षण दे रहे थे उसका एक मानक का स्थापना हो। कैबिनेट ने उसे अप्रूव किया है, जो राज्य सरकारें भी जिसका लाभ उठा सकती हैं। और एक बड़ा निर्णय कन्वर्जेंस, जो आज भारत सरकार के अनेक मंत्रालय और हमारे अनेक मंत्री यहां बैठे हुए जो इस काम को कर रहे थे, सबने कन्वर्जेंस और एक बड़े निर्णय के तहत देश के तमाम ITIs जो लगभग 12,000 है, जो मूल रूप से प्रशिक्षण देते हैं, उनको वहां से हमारे मंत्रालय में ट्रांसफर किया। मैं समझता हूं कि ये कन्वर्जेंस का बहुत बड़ा केंद्र बिंदु बना है। कई मंत्रालय हैं, हमारे इंडस्ट्री पार्टनर्स जो हमारे बीच में बैठे हैं। उदाहरण देना चाहूंगा कि अकेले सरकार इतना बड़ा काम नहीं कर सकती है, और इंडस्ट्री को करना आवश्यक है, और इंडस्ट्री के लिए हमारे साथ तमाम इंडस्ट्री के उस काम को पूरा करने के लिए हमारे सेक्टर स्किल काउंसिल्स जिसका नियोजन किया गया, ताकि उद्योग तय करे कि किस प्रकार का व्यक्ति, इंडस्ट्री तय करे कि कितने प्रशिक्षण के बाद हम उसे अपने काम में ला सकते हैं, और इस काम को करने के लिए हम पूरा करें। राज्य के माननीय मुख्यमंत्री बैठे हैं, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का ये निर्देश था कि इस काम को पूरा करने के लिए हमें स्किल विश्वविद्यालय की स्थापना करनी होगी, और राज्यों में स्किल विश्वविद्यालयों की स्थापना के लिए हमें काम करना होगा। हमें विश्वास है कि आने वाले दिनों में हम इस पर विधेयक संसद में ला करके देश के प्रत्येक राज्य में एक स्किल विश्वविद्यालय की स्थापना करने का प्रयास करेंगे। महोदय, आखिर में इस काम को पूरा करने का जो हमने रास्ता अपनाया है, स्टेट्स की पार्टनरशिप, और उसके बाद हमारे मंच पर बैठे हुए हमारे माननीय मंत्रीगण, इन सभी व्यक्ति जो आज यहां बैठे हैं, ये सभी वो मंत्रालय हैं जिनके साथ हम लोगों ने मिलकर के काम करने का प्रयास किया है। अनंत कुमार जी हमारे बीच में हैं, केमिकल्स एंड फर्टिलाइजर्स में। आज इनके क्षेत्र में लगभग 4.5 बिलियन लोगों की आवश्यकता है, जिसे प्रशिक्षित करके हमें इन्हें देना है, और अकेले फार्मा के क्षेत्र में 3.5 मिलियन लोगों की आवश्यकता है, जो हमें यहां देना है। स्टील एंड माइन मिनिस्टर हमारे साथ बैठे हैं, नरेंद्र सिंह तोमर साहब, इनके क्षेत्र में अकेले 2.8 मिलियन लोगों को प्रशिक्षित देना है, और माइनिंग के क्षेत्र में 4.5 मिलियन लोगों को हमें प्रशिक्षण देना है, जिसका काम है। पीयूष गोयल साहब, जिनके पास 3 मंत्रालय हैं, कोल, पावर और रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी। RPL में आज तक इस देश में जो बड़ी संख्या हम कहते हैं रिकॉग्निशन ऑफ प्रायर लर्निंग करना है, और कोयले के क्षेत्र में इन्होंने लक्ष्य जो निर्धारित किया है, लगभग 1,20,000 लोगों को RPL के तहत माइनिंग क्षेत्र में पहचान करनी है। रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में सूर्य मित्र के रूप में 50,000 लोगों को इस क्षेत्र में प्रशिक्षण देना है। हमारे साथ बैठे हैं सोशल जस्टिस एम्पावरमेंट, जिनके साथ भी एक बड़ा समझौता हुआ है, और थावरचंद गहलोत जी के साथ लगभग 30 लाख पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटीज के लिए हमें प्रशिक्षण देना है, जिसमें राज्य सरकारों की भी बड़ी भूमिका हो। हेवी इंडस्ट्रीज जो देश के तमाम PSUs है, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का यह मानना है कि जो स्पेयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग से जिसके पास साधन है, जिसके पास जगह है, उसका उपयोग हम साधारण रूप से करें। साथ साथ हमारे बीच में नड्डा साहब हैं। इस देश में हम लोग के पास डॉक्टर्स हैं, हमारे पास नर्सेस हैं, लेकिन बहुत सारे ऐसे कैटेगरी के लोग हैं जो कार्डियक केयर टेक्नीशियन, रेडियोलॉजी टेक्नीशियन, डाइटिशियन टेक्नीशियन, ऑपरेशन थिएटर टेक्नीशियन, और बहुत सारे ऐसे थे। हमारे सेक्टर स्किल काउंसिल में, जिसकी अध्यक्षता डॉक्टर त्रेहान कर रहे हैं, ऐसे लोगों ने मिलकर स्थापना की है, और लगभग 35 लाख लोगों की आवश्यकता है इस क्षेत्र में। इसी प्रकार से संतोष गंगवार साहब हमारे मंच पर हैं, इनके साथ एक समझौता है हैंडलूम के सेक्टर में। हैंडलूम टेक्सटाइल्स में लगभग 6 मिलियन लोगों की आवश्यकता है, टेक्सटाइल में अकेले लगभग 6 मिलियन लोगों की आवश्यकता है। और इन सब काम को हम पूरा कैसे करेंगे, इसलिए 2 महत्वपूर्ण विभाग, एक के बारे में प्रधानमंत्री जी बार बार चर्चा करते हैं। डिफेंस के साथ जो एक बड़ा समझौता हुआ है, वो भारत के इतिहास में पहली बार हुआ है, और आज भारत में पहली बार 60,000 लोग प्रत्येक जो हमारे जवान हैं एक जवान है, रिटायर करते हैं, अंतिम साल उनको उपयोग करना है, क्योंकि इन सब काम को पूरा करने के लिए सबसे बड़ा अभाव है स्किलर्स का। हमारे पास टीचर्स हैं, लेकिन प्रशिक्षण देने के लिए हमारे पास स्किलर्स नहीं है। फौज के साथ ये बड़ा समझौता हमारे तीनों चीफ्स यहां बैठे हैं, सब लोगों ने मिलकर तय किया है कि फौजियों के अंतिम वर्ष के कार्यकाल में उनको प्रशिक्षण दे करके उनको या तो गांव में उद्यमी बने, प्रशिक्षण बने, या स्किल्ड मैन पावर के रूप में उपयोग हो। वो सिर्फ फौजी बन के सिपाही नहीं बने, सिक्योरिटी का काम नहीं, के एक बड़ा काम हुआ। और डिफेंस ऑफसेट के बारे में जो चर्चा की है, उसके साधन को उपयोग करके इस समझौते के तहत हम डिफेंस सेक्टर में स्किलिंग का काम करेंगे। ये काम यहां पूरा नहीं होगा। हमारे साथ यहां पर रेल मंत्री जी हैं। दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा उपक्रम, उस उपक्रम में यह तय हुआ है कि भारत के 7000 रेलवे स्टेशन में, और हाल फिलहाल वाराणसी में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा था कि जितना स्पेयर है, 6000 स्टेशन ऐसे हैं जिसमें गाड़ियां नहीं रुकती हैं। हर रेलवे स्टेशन के पास बिल्डिंग है, पानी है, बिजली है, लेकिन एक चीज और है, 43,000 किलोमीटर ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क है। गांव गांव से जाने वाले इस पटरी के बगल में हम वर्चुअल ट्रेनिंग के लिए, इन कंप्यूटर की ट्रेनिंग के लिए रेलवे के साथ अपना समझौता कर रहे हैं। कॉनकॉर के साथ हमारे बाहर में अगर आप विशेष से देखेंगे, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि गुजरात के भूकंप के बाद उन्होंने रेल के डिब्बों का उपयोग किया था लोगों को घर में बसाने के लिए। आज कंटेनर कॉर्पोरेशन से प्रशिक्षण के लिए हम व्यवस्था कर रहे हैं। एक बड़ी योजना है, लेकिन हम यहीं समाप्त नहीं हो रहे हैं। डिफेंस के बाद साथ साथ हम राज्यों की तरफ भी जा रहे हैं, और राज्यों में जाने के लिए कई और मंत्री हमारे बीच में हैं, उनके साथ भी हमारा समझौता है। लेकिन राज्यों में जाने के लिए मैं विशेष रूप से राज्यों के मुख्यमंत्री, हमारे बीच में कई सारे मुख्यमंत्री बैठे हैं, मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि आप सब लोगों के बीच में, बादल साहब भी हमारे बीच में बैठे हैं, सिमरन जी बैठे हैं, जिस प्रकार से प्रधानमंत्री जी आज नेशनल स्किल मिशन की अध्यक्षता कर रहे हैं, उसके पहले भी बादल साहब पंजाब में अपने मिशन डायरेक्टोरेट की अध्यक्षता कर रहे हैं। मैं बधाई देना चाहूंगा बादल साहब जो हमारे बीच में हैं। गुजरात की सीएम हमारे बीच में है। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने हमारे बीच में काम शुरू किया था कौशल विकास केंद्र का। 500 पहले थे, हमारी गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री आनंदीबेन जी ने उसका विस्तार किया, और जो मॉडल हुआ है वो आज भी पूरे देश में इस काम को पूरा करने के लिए प्रयास किया जा रहा है। इसके साथ साथ पंजाब के हमने, झारखंड के मुख्यमंत्री ने जहां कोयले का खदान है वहां हम जाकर के हम लोगों ने जिस प्रकार से कोल इंडिया के साथ समझौता किया है, जो भी स्पेयर कोल इंडिया में जितना स्पेयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है उसको उपयोग। महाराष्ट्र के मुख्यमंत्री ने लक्ष्य स्थापित किया है 45 मिलियन लोगों को अगले 5 वर्षों में प्रशिक्षित करने का। राजस्थान के मुख्यमंत्री ने तो एक अनोखा काम किया है। राजस्थान स्किल डेवलपमेंट कॉर्पोरेशन से लेकर के जितनी योजनाएं थी उनको कन्वर्जेंस देकर के उनका काम पूरा कर। हमारे बीच में नॉर्थ ईस्ट के भी प्रमुख मुख्य खट्टर साहब हैं, इन्होंने कल इस पूरे दिवस पर एक बड़ा योजना लॉन्च किया है, जिसके तहत वहां के एम्प्लॉयमेंट के बारे में और देश में शिक्षा से जोड़ करके नेशनल स्किल्स क्वालिफिकेशन फ्रेमवर्क के साथ जोड़ने वाला पहला राज्य है हरियाणा। मैं उनको फिर से बधाई देना चाहूं। हमारे बीच में और भी प्रमुख लोग हैं, लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि हमारी सरकार एक संकल्प के साथ कर रही है। हम कामयाब आखिर कब होंगे? ये सरकार गरीबों के लिए है, मजदूरों के लिए है, कामगारों के लिए है, नौजवानों के लिए है, वृद्धों के लिए है। हम एक कमिटमेंट के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये कामयाबी कब होगी? मैं सिर्फ एक बात कहना चाहूंगा अंतिम रूप से, ये कामयाबी तभी होगी, आज हम लोग अखबारों में देखते हैं कि इश्तिहार आता है और इश्तिहार में लोग अपने लिए दामाद ढूंढते हैं, अपने लिए बहू ढूंढते हैं, लेकिन उसमें लिखा रहता है कि हमारा दामाद ग्रेजुएट हो, हमारा दामाद इंजीनियर हो, हमारा दामाद आईएएस हो, हमारा दामाद आईपीएस हो। जिस दिन इस देश में अखबारों में इश्तिहार आने लगेगा कि मेरा दामाद मास्टर शेफ हो, मेरा दामाद मास्टर प्लम्बर हो, मेरी बहू मास्टर ब्यूटिशियन हो, शायद हम लोग इस कामयाबी को हासिल कर लेंगे। और इसी के तहत आप सब लोग को और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के इस बड़े अभियान को, हमारे बीच में कुरियन साहब हैं, हमारे बीच में अनेक भारत सरकार के मंत्री हैं, सबका मैं आभार व्यक्त करके और विशेष रूप से मीडिया जगत और सब लोग आज इस देश भर में इस बड़े आयोजन के लिए, सफलता के लिए आप सब हमारे बीच में आए हैं। आप सबका विशेष आभार व्यक्त करते हुए मैं अभिनंदन के साथ अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं। जय हिंद, धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद माननीय श्री राजीव प्रताप रूडी। Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji has complete faith and pride in the unlimited ability and capability of youth of India. हमारे बीच कुछ eminent personalities भी मौजूद हैं जो इस सत्य से पूर्ण आश्वस्त हैं। I now invite Padma Bhushan Shri Subramanian Ramadorai, Chairman National Skill Development Corporation and National Skill Development Agency, to share his vision and commitment for Skill India. IT के क्षेत्र में आपका योगदान अति सराहनीय है।
Namaskar. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, Honorable Minister of Finance Shri Arun Jaitley ji, Minister of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Shri Rajiv Prasad Rudy ji, all the ministers, chief ministers and all the dignitaries present here. Let me start by wishing you all a very good evening. It's a matter of great significance that the social and economic imperative of building the talent of Indian youth through skill development has taken center stage. Today, we are celebrating the World Youth Skills Day here in India. Today's event signifies two things. One, skilling is on the national agenda and has the Honorable Prime Minister's and the government's highest attention. Second, India is readying to make a significant presence in the global market for skills through its large workforce. India's training and skilling ecosystem is witnessing heightened activity due to a combination of high aspiration amongst the youth, high awareness, high demand, and right policies being implemented. It's also true that developing talent is a new business opportunity that's being well acknowledged. However, every business must serve a societal purpose, and the CSR mandate is encouraging companies to give as much, if not more, strategic thought into its CSR policies and activities. Many industrial houses like the Tatas, Godrej, L&T and a lot more have launched their own skill development initiatives with ambitious plans to scale up through innovative collaborations as well as innovative technologies. While a lot of good is happening, there is a need to address legacy mindsets, legacy work cultures, and to bring in an aspect of quality and, of course, an outcome-driven approach. The work of sector skill councils, through standard setting, the implementation of the National Skills Qualification Framework, and other such measures will soon begin to address these challenges. I believe it's the last mile implementation wherein lies the biggest challenge. Reaching out to the furthest, highest or the poorest village may be the most challenging, but it's the youth here that need it the most. Government, community and training providers can work to build a sustainable model that works for all. This model must have entrepreneurship as a key element. Silicon Valley is successful because of its strong ecosystem of budding entrepreneurs. We need to think of developing an ecosystem that handholds youth throughout the various stages of setting up their own ventures, whether it is in the urban or rural areas. We all know prevention of the problem is the smart way to work. Hence, vocationalization of education in high school and in colleges, which is beginning to happen, will have a visible effect in the next couple of years from now. Along with this, more bridges need to be built between education and the workplace. Internships while in college, apprenticeships in the industry, faculty exposures to industry, employee sabbaticals to teach in colleges, all of these allow for more cross-pollination, and the effects of these will be very powerful. I want to take a moment here and ask for more industry participation in this initiative for India. While the government plays its part, I strongly believe that the industry should take more responsibility in areas like keeping the skill curriculum current, contributing experienced faculties, taking in apprentices, and actively setting up more training centers. Being partial to the IT industry, I feel that one of the key reasons for the success of this industry was the leadership taken by companies in developing their own talent pool. And this investment has paid back exponentially both to the industry and India. Finally, I would like to urge all stakeholders to be sensitized to the fact youth of this country are aspiring for better lives. Therefore, skilling, upskilling and building an aspirational career path at every stage of training is a moral duty, else we are guilty of shortchanging them Industry must see themselves as consumers of talent and therefore recognize the fact that higher skills demands better compensation. Ultimately, it's not about cheap labor, it's about building quality of products and services. By demanding higher skills, training providers will also raise the bar of their own training curriculum. The success of Make in India is about quality, not just cost, and we all need to translate quality into every aspect of business, both small and big. National Skills Mission has been announced recently with the Honorable Prime Minister at the Apex. We need this kind of attention and rigor from the top. We also need all the stakeholders to work in mission mode with passion and commitment to a larger cause of empowering our youth so that every Indian and India as a country achieves its highest potential. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. डॉक्टर आलिम चंदानी, बाय बर्थ हियरिंग इम्पेयर्ड होने के चैलेंज को आपने अपने जज्बे से जीता। आपने अमेरिका में उच्च शिक्षा प्राप्त की और आजकल दी ओनली यूनिवर्सिटी फॉर डेफ जो कि वॉशिंगटन में है उसमें डिफरेंटली एबल्ड स्टूडेंट्स को शिक्षा दे रहे हैं। आप भारत वापस आकर यहाँ पर डिफरेंटली एबल्ड लोगों के लिए काम करना चाहते हैं। आइए सुनते हैं उनका संदेश।
नमस्ते। Honorable Prime Minister.
All right, let's carry on our discussion forward, and we will keep going back and listening to all the speakers and whatever they have to say on the Skill India initiative. Some very eminent names there who are a part of this initiative, and like I've been saying all along, and Rajiv Pratap Rudy pointed out there, 500 million more people need to be skilled in India, and our numbers are very, very dismal at 3.5%. I was having a preliminary chat with Rahul Patwardhan, but I'm given to understand Guru Maladi of EY also joins us. Thanks very much, Guru, for being with us. Do we have him? Okay, I'm told we do. Thanks very much, Guru, for being with us. Education standards in India have always been lauded. They're very high. But like Rajiv Pratap Rudy was saying, 12 years of education is welcome. It should be done. But it's 12 weeks of training that can land you a job. Are we at any step undermining the impact of education?
Not really. I think what the minister is really alluding to is it's about really the it's called the finishing school in many parts, and a lot of times what happens is that I think it's not a lacuna in the education system that we have, because the education system really teaches people what are the basics that are necessary for them to be able to achieve something. But what really lands up in a job is a skill that's often something that can be learned within the 12 to 14 weeks of the duration that they're talking about. But obviously, that duration will vary depending on the nature of skill and the depth of technique that needs to be mastered. But it's not a misnomer it's surely not undermining the importance of the education system when someone says the finishing school is probably, will take, 20% or 15% of the time that we usually spend in a formal education process. Having said that, personally, I think it's time that we need to relook at the education system, which is really the 10 plus 2 plus 3 or 10 plus 2 plus 4 that we have, because usually for a large number of jobs, unless if somebody wants to really get into research and development kind of areas, we probably don't need to get our students to spend that long in academic campuses. So I think it's about time that we took a relook at what this whole formal education system that we have.
All right, we need to have a relook at how the formal education system in India is working and what it can do or cannot do as far as vocational training is concerned. Mr. Shenoy, I may want to come back to you because the NSDC had a target of imparting skills to about 150 million people by 2022. There's 119 million requirement across 24 sectors. How far have we come in that objective?
So if you look at the NSDC targets, when NSDC was launched on 20th of October 2009, we had kind of created an action plan till 2022. And what has happened is that over the past 4 to 5 years, the targets that have been set for NSDC, for example, the first year the target that was set for NSDC was training 125,000 people, 1,25,000 people. We ended up doing 180,000 people. So the next year's target that was there, instead of 2,25,000, it was up to about 4 lakh people, which we also exceeded. Last year, we set our own target of about 33 lakh people, which we actually were able to train those people. This year, our target is kind of little less than double of last year, and we are fairly confident of meeting this target. So, the education and skills space is not a linear equation. You can't say that, X million divided by 10 years, so you've got to do average so many million a year. It actually grows exponentially and grows in multiples. It's like starting a school. When you start a school, you start one class in standard 1, and it takes you about 5 to 6 to 7 years to actually grow the school to class 12. But after that, you're actually operating at fairly high capacity utilization and high outcomes. So as far as that aspect of NSDC is concerned, we are fairly on track in respect of the targets given to us in the past. The second target that was given to us was to look at the whole skilling ecosystem and get industry involved and set up sector skill councils. So not only have 37 sector skill councils been approved by the NSDC board, but 28 of them have actually created in excess of 1,350 standards which are globally benchmarked. And we also have entered into partnerships with countries like Australia and Canada and UK and Switzerland to ensure that our skills are benchmarked to some of the best across the world. So in terms of the journey so far, it was a slow start, but last year we actually scaled up exponentially, and this year we're also going to grow at the same kind of speed and scale going forward. The second mandate in last year that was given to NSDC was the whole the STAR program, in which we had to do 1 million people. We actually enrolled 1.4 million people, and close to 970,000 people got passed the training and got certified. So this year that number is actually being doubled to 24 lakh or 2.4 million people, and we are fairly confident of achieving that as we go ahead.
Right, you're confident of achieving the numbers. 150 million by 2022 is what your mission is looking to do. But Rahul, I want to come back to you and talk to you about the respect for labor in India. And Rajiv Pratap Rudy ended his speech on a very interesting note. He said the kind of commercials that are put out, or the kind of ads that come they come for an IAS, an IPS, a doctor, an engineer, and he'll be proud the day they start asking for a master chef, a master beautician, a master painter. Does everything boil down to the fact that we're not a skilled nation because we do not have respect for labor at one level?
That is true. This is a social phenomenon that we will need to address, which is why I believe that the whole Skill India program is a social transformation program. It's not just about the hard numbers. It's not just about how many people are trained, in which areas they're trained, but it's also about changing the psyche of the nation with respect to giving dignity of labor and respect for all forms of skills. I want to disabuse one view that all this program is only about entry-level skills at the low end of every industry sector. That is not the case. The industry sector councils are representative of all the skill needs of their industry, ranging from entry-level low-end skills to skills all the way up to the top of the sector. So this is a comprehensive skilling requirement addressing the entire pyramid of skills that need to be provided into each of the industry sectors. So it's a very variegated and differentiated need. So the scale, the differentiation, the spread and the size of the challenge, and the fact that a very large percentage of the existing workforce have very basic education backgrounds makes the task quite complex. Which of course also makes it very challenging and interesting for an organization like NIIT, where we have trained 35 million people over the last 34 years in one subject of IT and played our small contribution to the development of the IT services industry. We are now looking at how we can leverage our experience in doing scale training through our presence all over India and our technology platforms. And we have started offering courses in many other disciplines which today now constitute more than 40% of NIIT's training offerings. So that's the challenge that we're looking at, and our focus is also to make sure that in the process, through the branding, through the communication that we do in the market, we also make our contribution to increasing the respect for skills, irrespective of what kind of skill they're talking about.
Fair point indeed. Mr. Ramadhar, you've worked in the sector for very, very long. You're really the government's go-to guy as far as the skill management is concerned. I want to turn the focus and talk to you about the statistics that are out there. And, you know, the current government has set a target of skilling about 40.2 crore people by 2022, which has been brought down from the 50 crore that was the target of the previous government and was set in 2009. Where are we falling short? Are there gaps here, or has this been done strategically?
So I think calibration always takes place with regard to what is the demand side and what is the kind of job needs that are there. Whether it's a 40 crore or a 50 crore, it's at the end of the day a scale problem. We have to address the scale with speed and enablement of that scale with employability and skills.
All right, the Prime Minister is going to unveil the logo, so let's actually listen into that, because I wanted to go to Guru Malari for his take, and actually that logo unveiling is happening, and we'll keep watching it here while we spoke to Guru Malari. Guru, the question that I have for you is that, you know, Skill India and all of that is very good, but how does one move beyond this tokenism? And we are a nation that is in desperate need to skill our people. I mean, look at the statistics, and it gives you a clarion call of sorts there. What needs to be done to move beyond the tokenism? Guru, I want you to come in on that, and while we have the live feed that's coming in on the launch of Skill India. Get my audio right, I have a quick question for you, and this is really on moving beyond tokenism as far as Skill India is concerned. What needs to be done at an execution level to skill this country? I mean, so many people and yet so poor on the skill criteria. Guru Malari, the question.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so thanks for that question. So I think part of it, what we've heard, Dilip, I think he spoke about a while ago about what the contribution that NSDC is doing. So I think one of the differences that I see in the current attempt from what we have heard so far, surely I think there are certain basic elements that ought to have been put together, which now we see them coming together, particularly the integration of all the ministries coming together and also bringing industry into the whole dialogues. Therefore, one part of it is to create capacities that are essential from a government point of view, but also encouraging industry to come in, because at the end of the day, it's not a challenge that governments alone can solve meaningfully. One part of it is obviously, industry should have the absorption capacity, and also part of the reason why we actually landed up here is because we never really integrated the industry requirements into our education system. And that's evident if you were to look at when was the last time that we recalibrated our curriculum. That potentially gives the kind of answer that we have. So clearly, I think that disconnect is what landed us at this particular point in time. But with the kind of initiatives that are now underway, and potentially that we see that detailed in the policy document as it is being unveiled. So one part of it is what work that has been done so far by institutions like NSDC and some of the corporates that Mr. Ramadhar spoke about. The Tatas and the Godrej historically they've contributed largely to this area. So one is continuing on that part of it. The second is we certainly need a kind of a booster dose that's required, which is what is likely to be made available with the financing schemes and others that we are talking about. Along with that, bringing in the quality aspects to build institutions that have the ability to provide. Last but not the least, we should not ignore the problem of future, which is essentially integrating the existing education, or rather modulating the existing education system to keep in mind what the future skill requirements are likely to be. Therefore, 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years from now, we actually will have mainstream campuses that are in a position to produce the output that can be readily absorbed by industry. But clearly, I think from now till 2022, which is the year that we're talking about, we need a number of initiatives in a much larger way, because today the total capacity is about 7 million is what across India. Have to increase that capacity to tenfold, which is not a small challenge. And again, as Dilip mentioned, the problem is never linear, because today we have to clear the backlog, which is almost 30 crores in number, and then create capacities that has the continuous ability to generate 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 crores of skilled people. So clearly, I think it's a big challenge, but at least I certainly do not see the tokenism, in the kind of way how things are being talked about and being integrated. So surely, there's a lot to be done. There is no doubt, but I do see a lot of synergies which are being created as part of this program currently.
Point indeed. You've raised a very important point, the role of industry, because this cannot just be done by the government alone, and which is why I want to take it back to Rahul Patwardhan. Rahul, the industry has for long complained that India doesn't have enough talent pool, or at least not enough people ready to be absorbed by the industry. But this can't just be a government initiative. This has to be an initiative between the government of India on one hand and, of course, industry on the other. Is the industry a willing partner in this? I know on the face of it, nobody's going to say no, but what are the challenges in the industry becoming a willing partner?
I think the reality is that we have 2 or 3 things that are happening in the Indian industry. One is the high growth rates of almost every sector of the Indian industry. While we may be moaning a little bit about our growth rates being a little lower than they used to be, the fact is they are much higher than most other parts of the world, which means that new talent has to enter all these industries in much higher numbers. The second, Indian industry is also trying to compete on a larger scale internationally, both by going out to the world, but also with multinationals who are coming into India. And therefore, there's a very big demand for raising the level of skill of the existing workforce. So I think HR practitioners, learning practitioners in almost all the major industries and the CXO level decision makers are increasingly aware that the success of their companies is going to be based on their addressing the issue of learning strategically. As we see in multinational companies around the world that NIIT services in many countries. So we are seeing that, and the engagement of the industry through the sector skills councils and also directly with organizations like ours, where they sit down to define exactly what they want and factor learning into their manpower development plans long term. We're seeing a lot of that happening today. So while it might not be so visible at a macro level, since we are out there in the world engaging with industry, we see a lot of this happening today.
You see a lot of that happening, and the industry is perhaps going to be a willing partner. It only works in their favor, doesn't it? Mr. Ramadhan, you've been quiet for a while, and I want to come to you on this. The government is, of course, pushing a Skill India mission and is launching a number of initiatives like the ones that we've just seen. How will this really work with existing programs that are executed by the NSDC and the NSDA, between you and Dilip? There is, of course, a lot of the effort that's being spearheaded. How is this all going to converge and come together?
I think it is only, like I said, it's an evolution and journey. So in addition to the infrastructure through the NSDC or the capacity that is being done, the National Skills Qualification Framework through the NSDA, the Labour Market Information System, all of them get connected to create a skill ecosystem where corporate India, in addition to the government, in addition to the NGOs, will participate in this.
Dilip, on the face of it, there also seems to be a problem of plenty here with just very many agencies involved. There are multiple agencies that are involved with this. Does the government skill push undermine what the NSTC has been doing for years now? And how are you really working with each other? Aren't there areas of friction? How are you getting it all together?
See, when you have different agencies assigned different roles, there is a perception from the outside that there may be challenges. But if every entity is clear about their roles and functions within the roles assigned to them and looks at developing cooperation with the agencies across the entire spectrum and then executing to a common purpose, because really the two foci of this ellipse are really the individual and the employer. Okay, the employer could be the entrepreneur himself. Okay, so we have to ensure that the whole ecosystem is working with these two entities as the central piece. So the individual for training and making them and empowering them to be able to become either entrepreneurs or employable, and getting the entrepreneurs and employers to ensure that they are part of the ecosystem that enables them to set standards to assess and certify. And therefore, if the entire ecosystem works in unison with this, for example, many of the ministries are supporting the sector skill councils that have been set up under the NSDC. The NSQC that is running under the NSDA is also looking at supporting the NOSs and QPs that are being created by the Sector Skill Council. And like I said, there is a common norms committee which has been announced, and you're looking at common norms across different sectors. Yes, one could say, from the outside that there may be possible areas of conflict, etc. But being in the inside, the challenge is to actually get to work together in a cooperative way and ensure that the sum is actually in an exponential way, not just a pure addition of the different parts.
All right, I want to take this to Guru Maladi. And Guru, I know you're going to give me a more objective opinion on this because you're not a stakeholder, you're not one of the agencies that's involved with this. But am I right in assessing that the biggest challenge of a scheme like this to be successful is that it has to converge various ministries, it has to converge various states, and of course the various agencies that are already working in skill development? Do you see that as a challenge area?
Clearly, it's a challenging, it's an area of challenge. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And I think by bringing in, so today if you see the entire ecosystem, so you have the training providers being talked about, you have the agencies that are creating the markets, and you have the candidates who are keen to be skilled, and then you have employers that are coming in, and in addition to that, you have a number of user ministries within Government of India who've been brought together. So by no means, one should undermine the extent of challenge that it poses in really working with these multitude of agencies. But I think if you were to look at some parts of these problems, perhaps have been solved earlier, or at least have been attempted by the agencies like the Skill Ministry playing more of a facilitator role, and really if the ministry can actually assume a role of being a system integrator, sitting in the middle, trying to connect various agencies and build that platform where people can actually come onto that platform and seamlessly do business with each other, then potentially the problem becomes a little more simpler. And I think one of the examples that we have in Government of India, and I guess one of the points that I also must mention is the beauty of this present government is, irrespective of the political affiliations, if there was something that's good being done and been done in the past, they're willing to co-opt that and then build on top of it. And I think Aadhaar potentially is the largest example of that. And as we as a firm were associated with Aadhaar at that point in time, and I could clearly see how they played a role of which is a very non-intrusive role, but really building that platform that's necessary for these agencies to come together and then interact with each other. And as I read the information that's put out by the ministry through various consultation papers, that's the direction that I see the government is willing to take. Therefore, they can really leave the business transaction left to the various stakeholders, but their role being more to create that sort of a platform and provide the funding and necessary arrangements as the case may be. So to answer your question, yes, it is a challenge, but at least I see a direction in the current administration as to how to address that particular problem. Now, how far will they succeed is a factor of time. We'll have to wait and see how far they'll be successful.
Rahul, we were chatting on the role that the industry will play in this, and the industry is perhaps going to be a willing partner in all of this. A lack of funds has often been cited as a reason for why we are a very underskilled labor force. Do you believe that situation is beginning to change? Are funds beginning to flow in both from the government, the industry, or is that a pain point that still exists?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It really depends on which segment of the skilling challenge that one is addressing. And we see differences in how industry and government is responding to the different sectors. But let me give you a few examples. We work with some industries where the industries themselves have defined a program with us called Source, Train and Hire, where we source students with the appropriate background around the country, skill them up to the specific requirements of a company and supply them to the company, and we actually get paid directly as a service by the organizations concerned. There's a second model where there's a student pay and company pay. There's a third model where the government is funding the training, but only on successful completion of courses and placement of students. For example, the programs we do with NSDC and the new program, the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, payments are linked, funded by the government, but linked to results. And that's a very good model. It forces quality from the system, something that we hold very important in our history as a company. So I think there are different models. I'd like to take back to a previous point. The size of the problem is very large. So to think of a model where everything is highly centrally controlled would not be very practical. NSTC, NSDA, the Skill Ministry and the state government ministries for skilling need to provide the enabling framework and formats, and then it's going to have to be industry and suppliers in the industry for training to come forward and play their role too. And I think it's a combination of all of these which will make this transformation happen. And keep in mind, it is going to be a long transformation. We should not be expecting very big results in a very short period of time. We're talking about transforming the skill base of half of India's population over the next 10 to 15 years. That's not a trivial task.
All right, that's a tough task indeed. I have a question for Dilip Shenoy, and I'm going to come to him in just a bit, but let's quickly address what's really happening there. 1,500 crores worth of funds have been allocated this year, and that's the mission being launched by the Prime Minister himself. It's a subject, like we said, very close to his heart, and we can see what's really happening there in Vigyan Bhavan. But Dilip Shenoy, I'm going to touch upon the topic that I was discussing with Rahul Patwardhan there, and that's an important subject to speak about, which is, you have often in the past cited the lack of funds as a challenge when it comes to skill training. Has the funding situation improved in the last 1 year, both from the government and outside of it? I mean, Rahul believes there's money that's beginning to flow in. Are you someone who's do you see things as bright as Rahul does, perhaps?
So I think funds are being put in not only by the central government but the state government, and the new addition to the entire funds game is the whole CSR activity that is being kind of empowered by the new companies bill. And you have roughly about 12,000 crores of CSR money, of which even if we get some 5 to 10% coming into the skilling space, we can actually look at a lot more money coming in. The other thing is, if we actualize the loan program product on the ground, which is scheduled to be done very shortly, then you could see that another 34 lakh people could get access to funds to get skilled. Yes, there is a challenge if you look at the large numbers, but if this program is successful and people actually find a result at the end of training in terms of becoming employable, getting jobs or becoming entrepreneurs, then there is very much likelihood of people actually willing to pay for their own training, as was done in, let's say, in the IT sector in the early to middle 80s. And even now there are many IT training companies and animation companies and even media training organizations where a lot of people are willing to find the money to pay for it because they're assured of a job and assured of income going forward. So the challenge is to create that ecosystem going forward.
The challenge is to create that ecosystem, but Guru Malani, I want to come to you. Do you believe the industry sees this as an important enough destination to park money? I know the government does it with some kind of funds. Those are not enough, of course. But you know, the fund crunch that one has seen in a space like this, do you believe that's beginning to change? I mean, I know the rest of the speakers do believe things are looking brighter, the industry is far more willing, but do you see participants look at this as a more, you know, as a destination that's worth parking your funds in?
Yes, that's a good question. I think, you know, it really addresses the core of the issue, right, which is about funding. So, you know, at least our interactions with the industry, I mean, we are interacting with both the governments as well as the industry players with respect to what the interest levels are, so that, you know, there can be some funds, you know, syndication of funds that can really happen to give, sort of fuel the entire skill development initiative. So clearly, I think there are two developed changes that we have to notice here. So one, industry is conscious of the fact that the output that's coming from, I'm talking about varied levels of skills, not just at the entry level, but even, you know, fairly at the advanced levels. They are not happy with the kind of output that's being generated by various institutions, but be it ITIs or the polytechnics or engineering colleges or even, you know, high schools and so on and so forth. So clearly there is a gap that they have. Second, I think, which is most important, is we have completely moved away from the so-called industrial economy into knowledge-based economy. And more we grow on the service-based industry or the knowledge-based economy is where the prime asset really moves away from factories and buildings to human capital. So clearly I think industry has understood that quite well. And I think, as Mr. Ramdurai mentioned in his speech, IT and ITES probably are the early birds. And frankly, you know, a lot of times we actually make these things complex. And if I were to look at, you know, I entered the professional life back in 2000 at the time when Y2K was the big challenge, big problem, right? Now, if you were to look at who are these programmers that India produced and exported to US, were all graduates in arts and commerce with 3-month course in COBOL, and that's what landed these people in good jobs in the US. I mean, of course, today the situation has changed. We have a lot of engineers coming into it, but the sum and substance of it is that industry reacts to a particular demand, and as we see it today, there is a huge demand for skilled human capital that they need to deploy, be it in manufacturing or in service industry or, you know, other segments of businesses that we're seeing. So they are definitely willing to put in their money, and if CSR is one of the routes, I see a great adaptation there. But even without CSR funding, my sense is that today, if you look at corporate budgets for, you know, training, learning and development, and making people skilled to actually, you know, make them employable, it's a significant portion of the payroll cost that you see. So, you know, a part of it to be shared so that they have, you know, readily absorbable skills and absorbable person into the business, they would be more than happy to do that. So at least our discussions with industry leaders is fairly positive. Whether it's CSR or otherwise, they're willing to put the money where there is a proper ecosystem that's created.
It's important that you mentioned CSR, and Dilip, I'm going to bring this to you because I remember you mentioning this as well a short while back. We have the Azim Premji Foundation, the Shivnadar Foundation. These are foundations that are already working in the area of education. So does the NSDC work with CSR and foundation arms of corporates, and have they shown interest to partner with you? Is that something that the foundations are deeply interested in?
Yeah, you see, already we found like Cholamandam or SR Foundation actually contribute to the National Skills Development Fund in terms of funds for training. We have other foundations who are also pitching in money for skill development and training, the Axis Bank Foundation or the ICICI Foundation that is setting up all these institutions. So the private sector is also coming up and setting up training facilities, if it's Asian Paints or even Godrej or Bajaj Foundation. There are a lot of people actually supporting not only NSDC but also other associations, and for example the CII Foundation or the other entities that are there. So you are seeing a lot of private sector involvement in this space. The challenge is, again, how do we get everybody harmonized across common standards and common outcomes? And in that framework, the National Skills Qualification Framework is a very good thing going forward.
Rahul, I want to make this more sector specific, that yes, Mr. Ramodar Roy did speak about IT and ITS and how they've really been the shining stars. But you know, we were just talking about numbers. 119 million skilled laborers required across 24 sectors over the next 7 years. Will you help us understand which are the sectors that need the most skilled labor, and are we adept at handling out skills in sectors like those? I mean, you know, I've been thinking for a while, e-commerce is a booming space. Do we have enough people who understand that sector, who can deliver? Yes, we can surf the net, but you know, there is a certain skill set that's required for sectors like that. So just help us understand the big picture, Rahul.
Yeah, there's been a recent survey done to examine the demand for fresh entrants into various sectors of the economy. This was the survey done for NSDC, and that's a survey that threw up the number of over 100 million new people required over the next few years. It's interesting that the sector that we actually have been engaged in, which is IT and ITS and more recently BFSI, banking, are actually the smallest sectors of demand. The largest sectors are construction, retail, as you mentioned. While we talk a lot about e-commerce, the number of people who need to be employed in the technology side of e-commerce is actually a very small number. But the number that need to be employed in actually the distribution network for the e-commerce business is huge. Apart from that, of course, the whole retail sector is expanding very, very rapidly in India. The telecom sector is another area. So all sectors where you have large organizations which have a large service base, which need to address service requirements across every city and town of India and down to every village. We're talking about huge workforces that need to be trained to support those industries. So we ourselves are looking, and in fact made a commitment today to train 10 million people across 16 sectors over the next 5 years. This number might look big, given that we took 35 years to train 35 million people. But it's very small compared to the task of training 500 million people, of which 100 million need to be trained afresh to join the industry, another 400 need to be upskilled. Exciting times ahead, very important times ahead as we go down the journey of transforming India's skill base and bringing it to global standards.
Hold your thoughts there, because I think it is time at this point in time, just before the finance minister and the prime minister begin to talk, it is important to now really focus on why such a hoo-ha is really being made as far as Skill India is concerned. It's important to throw numbers at you, and that will give you a sense of how dismal we are. The skilled workforce in India is just 3.5%. Only 6.8% of the 15-year-olds have received skills so far. The concern is skill development, utilization of skilled forces. You compare the data with any other country in the world, and it gives you a sense of how poorly we rank. So China has a 45% skilled workforce, a UK has a 68 to 70%, Japan has an 80%, Germany has a 74%, and South Korea is at 96%. India is at a dismal 2%, actually 3.5% to really be precise. So that's the big lacuna there. Now, what are the challenges? The challenges are, because of our high levels of poverty, we have very high dropout rates. We've got lack of formal educational qualification. We've got lack of capacity for skill training. We've got lack of industry-ready skills. We've got social stigma towards skills. I mean, you know, India doesn't respect labor too much, and like Rajiv Pratap Rudy was pointing out there, one doesn't advertise for masons and for plumbers, for beauticians, for chefs. We do not really respect labor as much. Okay, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley is beginning to talk on this initiative, and let's listen in to the Finance Minister.
Like visualizing a future dream. one of the key initiatives of the Prime Minister ever since the government took over 14 months ago. In fact, this plenary hall of the Vigyan Bhavan has been a witness to many such opportunities which we are creating for India. Months ago, when the Prime Minister launched the financial inclusion scheme, little did we realize that in a period of almost 4 months, 160 million people will get connected to the Indian banking system. Thereafter, when the Prime Minister launched the social security schemes in a country which is underinsured and underpensioned, in almost 35 to 40 days, we had 110 million people being added to the social security network. The Swachh Bharat has invited a huge response, and more than a governmental program, it has almost become a mass movement in India, which the people of India themselves have adopted. The Make in India initiative, the Digital India initiative, the Mudra as an agency for funding the unfunded are all historic initiatives which we have seen in the past few months at this same venue in order to rejuvenate the Indian economy. Sir, we took over 14 months ago in somewhat a somber and a depressive environment. And when we look back, we see a huge change. And the initiative that you are launching today of Skilling India is going to add to that huge change. It's a hard reality that India has surplus manpower. The global population is not increasing. Most developed countries in the world, in fact, their replacement figure for 2 people is much less than 2. It ranges between 1.2 to 1.6 depending from country to country. The world therefore would be woefully short of manpower. India has surplus manpower. That's the whole demographic differential which is taking place. Do we now treat this surplus manpower and an excess population as a burden or a liability on Indian economy, or do we convert it into a resource? Till today, there has been no structured approach in this direction. Some initiatives have started in the last few years, about which references have been made just now. And to convert this now in a mass activity, we have to outline the vision that you are going to place before the country today, that we train in these various vocations hundreds and lakhs of people who now can not only become self-sufficient, but for whom work becomes dignity. We foresee now, even in somewhat a global environment where global growths are modest, India standing out as a relative bright spot. Our services sector is almost going to touch a double-digit growth. Hopefully with the kind of initiatives that we are pumping into the economy, from infrastructure to smart cities, to a lot of initiatives in agriculture, our manufacturing sector, with the Make in India initiative, is also going to pick up from almost a flat growth 14 months ago. Signs of revival are almost visible. And it is each of these areas which will see the need for a huge amount of manpower. And this manpower needs to be trained in order to accomplish the challenges before the Indian economy. The opportunities for this manpower will be huge. It won't only be confined to the territorial boundaries of India, because cross-border movement of human resource is also a huge human resource, particularly when the world is short of this human resource. Higher education cannot be the prerogative of all. Basic, primary and secondary education is a right. And therefore, as a substitute to that higher education, which only few are privileged to receive, it is necessary to train this resource so as it becomes well equipped in order to manage the challenges before both the domestic economy as also the global economy. I remember, sir, when we were students in the 1970s, there used to be a slogan which used to be given, we want jobs